Hey Auburn, this is David with City's Public Affairs team, and I thought you might enjoy a chance to get to talk to to get to hear from our outgoing City Manager, Jim Buston. And Jim, you started in 1996 thinking you'd be here a short time, and now you're about 11 days from waking up a free agent. How do you feel right now?
I did. I started May 1st, 1996, with the intention of staying about 3 years. And 3 years led to 5 years, led to 10 years, and now almost 25 years later, actually 24 years, 9 months later, I'm ready to retire. So it's been a really good experience. If it hadn't been, I wouldn't have been here so long. But I began with the city to form an IT department, became the assistant city manager, and then became city manager.
So tell us about life before Auburn and how you came to come to Auburn.
So yes, I was born in a small town in southwest Wyoming called Rock Springs. It's right on Interstate 80, right in the southwest corner of Wyoming. And for some reason, growing up in a landlocked state surrounded by land, I always wanted to be a marine biologist. So when it got time to go to college, I was looking for a place to go. University of Wyoming, obviously not a good fit to be a marine biologist at the University of Wyoming. And Oregon State University had just become the first Sea Grant college. And so that brought Oregon State to my attention. I applied as an out-of-state student, was accepted there, and graduated from Oregon State. So then, after I graduated, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And during my time at my last year at Oregon State, as most universities do, they have job fairs where students that are about to graduate go and interview with different companies. And or one of the entities that came to Oregon State was the Peace Corps. And I interviewed with them just because I was interviewing with everybody. I really had no intention of going to the Peace Corps. In the mail came a packet from the Peace Corps saying that I had been accepted and that I needed to report to Miami. I think it was in about 2 months, and that I would be going to Honduras. I went to Honduras in 1974, did 2.5 years in the Peace Corps, and then I was hired by the government of Honduras to be a technical advisor, a civilian technical advisor to the government of Honduras. During that time is where I met a lot of Auburn professors who were coming down to do different projects in Honduras, different Auburn groups, and again, the professors asked me if I wanted to go to graduate school to give them a call. So about 5 years in to having lived in Honduras for a little over 5 years, I decided my time was up. I was coming back to the United States and I was going to go to graduate school. And I gave those professors a call. I applied to Auburn and I was accepted, and that's how I got to Auburn.
With an undergraduate degree in marine biology, what did you come here to study?
Fisheries. It was nutrition, animal nutrition. So I was always interested in computers, even from my undergraduate days at Oregon State. Most of the classes that I took at Oregon State had some computer component to it. Even if it was like a statistics class, you had to use a computer to enter the data and to run the analysis and things like that. And so at Oregon State, I got interested. Oregon State had developed a very simple programming language called OSCAR, and it was the Oregon State Computer something. And I got interested in that, never thinking that, back then, that wasn't really a career goal for many people. But I was interested in it. So I came to Auburn and decided that for my electives, I would take computer classes. And the first class I took was a class on assembly language programming. So I did really well in that class, and so that just spurred me on to take more computer classes as my electives. And again, being a graduate student, I was always looking for money to live. And I saw in the school newspaper that there was a group that was taking computers. At this time, they were the Apple II computers, or Apple IIe computers, to set up a computer lab in Panama. And they were looking for someone who could speak Spanish and knew about computers. And so I applied for that job, and I got that job to go take these computers to Panama with the group, set them up, do some basic classes. But one of the things I didn't know how to do is to teach people about computers. Fortunately, Auburn being a progressive university that it is, there was and computers were just brand new. I mean, this type of computer was brand new. It wasn't really in the classroom at the time. It was coming to the classrooms, but they had a professor that was teaching teachers how to teach about computers and with computers. And so I thought, well, I need to take that class so I know what I'm doing if I'm going to teach people about computers. So I took the class, and again, I hit it off with the professor. I did well in the class. And he asked me, he said that he was starting a company, and he asked me if I wanted to join that company. And this was before I was ready to graduate, and I said, no, I'm probably going to, do something related to my field of study. I thought, being working in animal nutrition, I could get a job with Purina, one of those companies that do cat food, dog food, animal food feed. But when it came time after I graduated, he called me up again and said, hey, I'm really serious about starting my company. I'm going to start this software company. Do you want to come and work for me? And at that point, I thought, yeah, I'll do it. So I went to work for him as a software programmer. And anybody who has heard me tell this story probably doesn't believe me, but I swear it's true. We developed a program on the Apple II computer that used both text and graphics simultaneously, and did it in such a way that we were able to link each screen of text and graphics to the other screen via some type of what we call them as touch points, but basically what you would now say is mouse clicks on a screen. You could click here and go there, click here and go there. And we developed that whole program. And we used it for a product we called Touch and Go, which was pre-Google Earth and pre-GPS. And so we took the Rand McNally map, and if you wanted to go from point A to point B, and all of our point Bs were sites that people would want to visit, parks or monuments or things like that. And so, and our point A was usually some rest stop somewhere in the country. So if you went to a rest stop, you would see this kiosk sitting there, and they would say whatever the features were in that area, whatever tourist features were there. Say if you want to go to this particular tourist feature, then it would print out directions how to get there. Basically now what you get on your Google Assistant or something like that. So anyway, we developed quite a few products for different sectors. We eventually formed a new company with a company out of New York City called the Howard Marlboro Group, which was part of Saatchi & Saatchi, the international advertising group. And we created a company called Intermark. We went public with Intermark, and Intermark was a company that did point-of-sale marketing. We did point-of-sale for Pantene hair care products, for DuPont carpet, for all different kinds of products, but basically trying to get you to buy the product once you got into the store. So that led to more programming, and it led to eventually me knowing some people here in Auburn who worked at the City of Auburn. And at one point, one of those people asked me if I would meet with the city manager of the City of Auburn, because he had this idea that he wanted to run past me. And so I did, and that was the Doug Watson at the time. And now we're back to setting up a IT department for the city, which is why I came, using that programming knowledge and skills that I had in the private sector to bring that to the public sector.
So Auburn is a council manager government. Doug Watson, who talked you into joining Auburn, was the first city manager under that form of government. Citizens voted to become council manager in the 80s. You're the fourth? The fourth city manager under that form. What would you say about that form of government and what that has to do with kind of the quality of our workforce, and why are we a council manager government?
Well, I can probably say that if this were not a council manager government, I doubt that I would have even taken the job of IT director. One of the things that Doug Watson told me when he was recruiting me for this job was that decisions were made not for political reasons, but decisions were made for operational reasons, and that the politicians did not have direct authority over the staff. That the direct authority for staff was from the city manager's position. And so he explained it to me in terms that I could understand coming from the private sector, that the way our government operated was sort of like a private sector board of directors being the city council. And the board of directors set policy and vision for the company, for the government. The CEO is the president of the company, and that would be the city manager. Vice presidents would basically be the department heads. And so if you look at it from that corporate structure, that the government structure we're under, the council manager form of government, is a lot like the corporate structure in the private sector. So those efficiencies are there. The ability to get things done, not having to spend too much money to get those things done, but having to spend some, basically enough money to get the product that you want, but not too much. So that was enticing. And I think that's also one of the reasons that I stayed for so long, is that a council manager form of government is run a lot like a private sector corporation.
So you talked about some hard times in recent years, and certainly the last 2 years have been interesting and challenging. And it seems like the city of Auburn does pretty well with challenges and with hardships, and is pretty resilient. And why do you think that is?
Part of it is because well, I hate to say we plan for it, but we do. We recognize that things can be disruptive, whether it's staff things that are going to happen to our staff, whether it's things that are going to happen to the economy, the environment, whatever. And so we plan for those. And when we are creating budgets or creating workflows or whatever, we're always thinking that, we need to understand that we can't go 110% in this direction, because if something happens, we need to have a fallback position. So we have to be conservative in our finances. We have to be aggressive in our what-if scenarios. If this happens, are we prepared for it? What do we do if this happens? We have a business continuity plan. We want to make sure that whatever happens, we continue to be able to deliver services to the citizens of Auburn. And I think we have never been challenged as much as we have been this last year during COVID, because we are still required to be out and picking up trash. We're still required to be out and purifying the water for people, that when they turn on that tap, the water still needs to come out. Our police and fire need to be out protecting citizens. we still have to have crews out to fix water lines and sewer lines and road closures when we have, not only did we have in the middle of COVID, but we had storms go through, that we had trees down on roads, and our staff have to get out there and clear that away so that there are pathways for citizens to use. And we can't just say, okay, COVID's here, we're going to stay at home or we're going to isolate. That's just not an option for city staff. And so we have to think, we would have never thought of having this type of pandemic. Although in our plan, our business continuity plan, it does mention, well, if something happens and people are not able to get into work, how do we make sure that those people that we need are here to work, and those people that can work from home? So we were challenged during COVID. We're still being challenged, but I think we've met that challenge and exceeded that challenge.
You've been in Auburn as a student, you've been in Auburn as a resident, you've been in Auburn as a city leader. Combined, tell us about Auburn. You've seen it from all of these perspectives. What do you love about Auburn?
So actually my first time in Auburn was the week after the weekend where the Copper Kettle blew up. So that was in the late 70s, I think it was 78, might have been. So my first experience with Auburn was of a downtown that was kind of blowing up. And like you said, I came here in 1980. The Auburn of 1980 is not the Auburn of today. It was not a very beautiful place. It was kind of dirty, felt a little bit cramped. There was really nothing in downtown Auburn that would draw anybody to the area. It didn't have its best foot forward. The university was the center of everything, and the city itself was not all that nice, and didn't have a lot of amenities. That has changed over the years, and I think a lot of credit goes to the combination of Mayor Jan Dempsey, Dr. Doug Watson, who those two had a vision and brought Auburn far along. The councils that helped do that, Mayor Bill Ham, who took that vision and extended it, and the councils that worked with Mayor Ham. Charlie Duggan, who was city manager here. He guided this city government through a very difficult downturn in the economy, continued delivering services to the citizenry with no tax increase, with no laying off of personnel. It was a very difficult time. So right now we have a city that's growing. We've transitioned from a small village to a smallish, medium-sized city. We continue to have the problems associated with that growth, but we also get the benefits from that growth. The amenities that are in Auburn now are far superior to what amenities we had in 1980. The fact that we've kept taxes so low is a testament to the work that's been done in diversifying our economy with industry, not only having just the university as our economic engine, but bringing in a variety of different types of industry into our economy, which keeps us solvent. 10 years ago, when I was giving speeches on government and government finances, one of the things I always said is that we are very fortunate in Auburn because we have an economic engine in Auburn University that will never go away. Well, it went away during COVID. When students don't come back, when you don't have that economic impact from the students spending their money in the community, 30,000 students in a community of 70,000 is a significant economic impact. And who would have thought that they would have ever gone away? Fortunately, they're coming back. But I think over the years, the city has had some problems. They have addressed those problems. They have come out even better on the other end. And so Auburn now I think Auburn is a very clean city with a lot of amenities, great parks, great recreation opportunities, great schools, just all kinds of things to do. That's one thing in a community this size. There are so many different things going on almost every night of the week. There's something going on, and you usually don't find that type of diversity within a community our size. It's usually a much larger community. So we've grown from not having a whole lot of amenities to having the amenities of a community much larger than ourselves. And so I think that's it's a good quality of life to live in Auburn.
So what do you love the most about Auburn?
The sense of community. I think there is a true sense of community. There is a true sense of ownership. The citizens really believe that their voice makes a difference, and it does, and they take ownership. I think that is that sense of community, that sense of camaraderie, I think is one of the best things that the city has.
So now 25 years into your 3-year journey with the city, what are you most proud of?
I think the fact that we have been recognized for the service that we've been able to provide to the citizens. I think the award we just won, that type of recognition of our staff, of the work that they do, I think that's probably the thing I'm most proud of.
So you are about 11 mornings away or so from freeing up maybe 60, 80 hours of your week. What's next?
I'm going to wake up and say, I got a lot of stuff to do at my house. I was going to wake up and say, today I'm going to travel, but I can't do that until after COVID. So while I'm waiting for COVID to subside and vaccines to get out into the general public, I will be doing things that I've actually been putting off for the whole year at my house, saying that, well, I'm going to have some time when I retire now, so I'll do this and I'll do that. By the time I get all those things done, I may be then ready to start traveling again. So, but yeah, I just will relax. I won't have to worry about the day-to-day operations of the city. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this, Jim.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it.